Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a long time. I'm not alone this time. I'm here with three others on the Time Splitters Rewind development team. I'm here with Austin, left curly bracket, crossbow artist, right curly bracket, who is currently muted. I'm here with Crazy B 2000, otherwise known as Alfred. And last but not least, Niall, left curly bracket, Anim Boy, right curly bracket.
Why don't you just say bracket?
Because you have square brackets and curly brackets. Yep.
Yeah, but they're not. Okay.
Maybe it's just an American thing. Who knows?
I mean, isn't it just parentheses?
Yeah, but there's like 3 times.
Yeah, but curly brackets are the brackets with the strange like.
Is curly bracket the technical term?
Yeah.
Like if you
That's a
use the
curly
Microsoft
bracket.
Sam speech engine,
That's a bracket.
like he'll
I
say
didn't
it.
know it's called a curly bracket.
Yeah. So what do we have here? We have a Soviet rifle modeled by Parmesan / Damien / Scruffy Das Wolf.
Wait, he made a Soviet rifle?
Yeah, and we thought it was lost, but Austin was like, no, and then he basically like provided it.
I thought there was another Soviet rifle that we had.
There's the
From someone
S-47, which is kind of like, it's kind of...
No, Soviet rifle.
Mm.
Not the S-47, the Soviet rifle from Future Perfect.
Yeah, no, this is it.
Just a second, let me get that stream up. I want to see what I'm looking at. I want to see what you're looking at.
Well, it's just
It's
probably going to be
incomplete,
remodeled, but I need to look at the
Did
original.
he know this? I thought he...
Apparently, according to a lot of people, yeah.
Okay. I honestly thought that was someone else. I thought that model was like in a low poly state for a long time and he just textured it. I could be wrong though, I guess.
So,
I just remember we got an application like years ago of somebody making this model and it was never used until somebody buried it up, dug it back up again.
oh,
So I
gosh.
guess that we have 2 of those models then.
I want to look at the original, though, and this one has, like, bones and stuff with it. Original.
Okay.
Wow, so he did a really good job sticking to the original.
Good boy. Josh is talking to you, David.
Josh is talking to me? I'm streaming
No,
with
he's
you.
he's just ignore him. Just ignore
how-
him and go away.
How is everything? Everything is good, I guess. Moderately good. Some things better than others. Pushing for that deadline, boy, for August.
Is it a deadline?
Yeah, I've been talking with Jose about what we want to do for the update. I pitched an idea, but he hasn't responded to me yet. So obviously I don't want to talk about it on stream, but I pitched a idea I thought would be cool.
We're having you take over all the character modeling.
Heh.
Excuse?
We're gonna have Rain and Sam just do nothing.
Yeah, I'll do characters now.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I honestly was expecting by now to have seen something from the both of them.
Yeah, Sam. Well,
Can't be
Sam
helped,
left.
can't be
He was on some kind of vacation for like 2 weeks, and now there's
Download
some
Festival.
electricity, like rewiring going on in his house. I think of some kind.
Where does he live again?
The UK.
Where does
Slums.
so he lives in the slums? Okay. Okay. I couldn't quite place his accent. Sounds a bit east. I'm not quite sure.
Generic Northern.
No, he was not. He's not northern. It doesn't sound that northern to me. It could be northern, but he kind of has a slight
Anything north of me?
east. I suppose. I have to ask him. So I'm quite curious.
Hello, Jupiter. Evil apple.
We did talk to Sam recently, and he's tweaking some minor stuff on the model to make it look nicer. I think he's doing the boots right now. Because the original Time Splitter's boots look like just lumps, and that was it.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to spoil too much of what he's doing, but...
Well, he's just modelling boots. I think you already spoiled it as much as it can be spoiled.
I didn't say what type of boot.
There's a type of boot?
Could be Heelys.
Well, the ones which have lights attached to them. But...
Those are Skechers.
Oh, wow. We have a shoe expert here.
I applied for a job at Skechers and they rejected me.
What did you apply as?
Like sales assistant. I need money.
There we go.
So Alfred, any updates on your game you're working on?
Things have gotten kind of slow due to one reason or another. Unfortunately, basically, we made a trailer, but we haven't rendered it yet. That's about it.
You said we. Are you?
Yes, I've got a friend helping me with cinematography. He's somebody who I've worked with quite a few times, and I've known him for about, I don't know, 8 years now. So
Nice.
yeah, you know, so he's helping me out with cinematography and a bit of animation, and yeah, but you know, we wanted to get a trailer out for next month, and considering the state it's in now, I think we're kind of pretty close to that.
Render farm.
Well, it's it's an engine thing, so it's all real time. No need for a render farm. But yeah, in the meantime, I've kind of been experimenting. I do this thing sometimes where I go away for a week and I make a game in Unreal Engine and then I just let it sit on a shelf somewhere. It's quite a fun thing to do, actually, taking a week out to make something.
What was this week?
Oh, I made a retro shooter game that was very gory, and I was using it as a way to test out to see how particles could spawn decal effects. So I made all these particles, these blood particles, which would then spawn splatters, and it ended up becoming stupendously bloody. And it was a retro style game, so it was like 90s graphics. And yeah, that actually is kind of good for the amount of decals that was spawning, because it just started to really slow down. You could literally paint the place in blood, and then I kind of got bored of it because it was all I had to do all hand animated, of course. But I was just kind of doing it. And I was thinking, yeah, this was fun. But I actually went and played some old retro games in order to do some research on that, and I came to a realization about something. So I went back and played Unreal, the original Unreal, and
Free crap.
I had played Unreal quite a long time ago. And I remember liking it, and I played it again quite recently, and it was actually quite painful to look at, which is a controversial thing to say, but it was not the graphics, it was not like the low polygon count or anything, it was actually the lighting which got to me. Like back when, am I talking to myself? I think I have.
Nope, I'm hearing you.
Back when
I'm just fully invested.
lighting was kind of, they were really experimenting with lighting. Like, this is fresh out of Quake. Lighting wasn't that big a thing in video games. And Unreal, Epic had just made an engine which could support all kinds of crazy lighting. And the lighting ended up being way too contrasted. So you had like pitch black right next to bright white. And it was kind of just painful to look at. And you kind of forget those things.
Look at old days.
Yeah, I mean, I look at things like the retro-inspired games like Dusk and Strafe, and it's nowhere near as big as a problem because they have ambient lighting, but they didn't use ambient lighting for Unreal. They just had a lot of lights. And I'm sure there was lighting for the exterior shots, but it just kind of was an awful realization. But yeah, so I've been busy. I've been doing a lot of stuff for however long.
I enjoy your stories, Alfred. I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
lie.
these are all stories of me sitting alone in my room on a hot summer's day, making stuff, and then passing out into bed from the heat.
God.
I can't even pass out in bed because it's so hot on my bed.
It's true. This is true. I mean, if it's not the heat, it's hay fever. It's one or the other.
I can't. Like, even if I think about getting up to go out, it just kills me. It just knows when I'm about to leave.
Yeah. So I've really just been kind of doing all sorts of stuff, and it's been kind of messing with my brain, the heat. So I've been doing whatever. Although none of that whatever encapsulates Rewind. I haven't touched this project with a 50-foot pole would I never touch this project.
Just come back.
I thought it was 39 and 1/2 foot pole is the line from the song. Talking about the Mr. Grinch song. That's what you just reminded me of.
Right. Well, and I think that every now and then, I sometimes think to myself, if you guys kind of just did something that wasn't Rewind, the amount of stuff you could do is probably amazing. But
The problem is we can't agree on something.
I know. Well, that's fucking true. I'm sorry. already broke the PG.
PG-13. PG-13.
It's okay. PG-13's allowed 1 or 2 swear words.
Oh, the
Only one or
F-bomb
two.
specifically once.
Once we've used up our allotted effing.
Okay, let's see how far do we make it? How we made it like 19 minutes. All right, I guess that's a nice record maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the first time I heard a swear word when I was a kid in one of those films which was supposedly for kids. And I think it was the second Jurassic Park film. It was Jeff Goldblum. And I just kind of, I don't know why I remember that detail.
You just do.
But you do. And it was like consciously being aware of it. I think when I was a really small kid, when people swore, I just didn't care. I didn't think anything of it. I know much of a difference between somebody swearing or somebody saying any other word when you're a kid. All of this is a bad word stuff gets imposed upon you when you're young. Regardless, the amount of stuff you guys could potentially do is high. It's just, look at you working on this project still.
Yeah, I made like a commitment. I pretty much told Jose I was gonna be around for a while, and I still am.
Shouldn't have said that. He's gonna keep you here forever.
Yeah, I'll be the next like Steven who just like after 4 or 5 years I work but I just don't talk to anybody.
Austin, why don't you just get a better mic?
Yeah, I can't wait to test the that game though for real. That's gonna be fun.
Probably that part probably not going to happen.
What?
Because the Kickstarter at this point is just going to have the trailer. The trailer with views of gameplay. I mean, you could. It's fine.
I'd love to test it though. Get that live stream reaction. Doing Sean's game was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. That was fun.
Sorry, what did you say, Niall?
If you need someone with a potato PC, I'm your guy.
Yeah, I got 64 gigs of RAM, so.
I think I don't want to have people test a game where I know what the problems are. I think that when it comes to opinions and getting an extra view, it's important, but it's not something which should be strived for all the time. If you as a developer can kind of keep track of problems, you don't necessarily need someone to come along and test it right away.
Oh no, I just want to see my PC die.
Just melt. And then you sue you sue Alfred for making a game that melts your PC.
I can buy myself a new computer.
This is your fault.
But I'm probably going to try and be more open with the game soon anyhow, because you can go stir crazy working on something by yourself.
Oh, of course.
And I've been working on this mostly by myself, and the fact that I've had someone to talk to about it, which is the person I'm working on the trailer with, has been great. But he's a busy person, so he's not always around, and so I'm back to just working by myself, and sometimes wishing I was working on something else.
I made a bad mistake. Rookie mistake.
The animation's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That bit where he puts the lamp on his head. That was so funny. I think at that point I had a touch of alcohol in my system when I watched that, but I still thought that was so, to this day, like, that is just unexpected and hilarious.
Well, I'll tell you what, you may not be testing the game right away, but when there's a watchable version of the trailer, I'll send that to you before I put it out. See how you think.
Yes.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's taken a deceptively long amount of time to make the trailer because there was just a lot of work involved with it, and it just kind of further concretes my mind that, yeah, when there's a trailer for Rewind, that's definitely going to be, I think, a gameplay trailer and not a cinematic trailer.
Hmm.
But hey, that's, you know,
I'd rather see gameplay.
I'd rather see gameplay as well.
I want more crystals. Number
Hey,
10 on the
more-
Watch
more
Mojo's
than
worst
three-
game.
The 3 people who are watching right now, would the 3 people who are watching right now actually like to see more crystals? Is it 3 or is it 2? Is it one? Is it
Well,
one person
it's
who isn't
six.
allowed to
It's
watch
at
it?
least 5 because I have it up on my right screen.
Yes, but I see it as well, so it's 4. And
Okay.
if Niles, then it's 3, and if Austin's
I've got 6, yeah. I'll tell you.
This is a test to see, are my viewers more in the US or are they in the UK? Because every time I stream, it's always like past bedtime for UK. But now
Yeah,
it's
right
like
now
on the
it's
East
on
Coast,
that
it's
one.
people are at their day jobs.
Although,
I still haven't slept.
You're crazy.
Why are you always up at like 4 a.m.?
I can't stop.
Can't stop what?
I can't just stop not going to bed.
You can't stop not stopping.
You should have that
It's
looked at.
too hot to even try anymore, so I just sit there and contemplate. And then I get up and say, I'm going to do some rewind work, and I just look at my laptop and look at Reddit for 4 hours.
I'll tell you what I'd like to try and do at some point. I'd like to try and do what you're doing right now, I guess, where you're streaming work. I mean, I probably wouldn't stream anything related to Rewind, but I keep on kind of... I do this thing sometimes where I record myself modeling, and I look back on it, and I'm quite entertained by seeing how I work differently when I'm actually recording myself.
Oh yeah.
Because when I'm recording myself, I don't take shortcuts. I normally take shortcuts, like with hands and stuff, so that I don't have to keep modeling them over and over again. But if I'm recording myself, I think, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that. I have to do it all from scratch, and I do. And it takes 10 times as long.
I have a few shortcuts as well for animation. It just involves not caring.
I mean,
Like, if you can't see it, it doesn't matter.
that's true though. That's
Like,
true of any animation. It's like, you know, it's not actually, you're creating the impression of movement, so you can quite easily skip a few frames in there.
Yeah, that and the actual positioning. The fingers, when they're wrapped around, when you're gripping a rifle, the fingers that go behind the gun, they're just warped. Because it looks nicer from the other.
If you could warp fingers without them looking weird, then, you know, you're good to go, really.
I did get some inspiration from Overwatch, because Mercy's staff. Her fingers behind it are broken beyond hell, but it doesn't matter because you can't see them.
Yeah, I think that's generally how video games work. If you can't see it, doesn't matter. Like, I remember because the game I'm making is cartoony and somebody wants to potentially come and help out with environment design, I actually ran through the levels of Overwatch with them so that I could just show them how many shortcuts were taken in the level design for Overwatch. And they were kind of shocked by how, if you actually take apart Overwatch and the art design, like, it looks great, looks beautiful, yeah? Well, go up to that wall and stare at it and you'll realise something's off. You'll realise in like each level there's about 5 textures and that they just reuse them in interesting ways to make them look different. And things like, you know, it was very interesting seeing the amount of stuff and that they kind of skip out on. It's not just that game; all games do it. You just don't notice it. When I actually was able to run around in Destiny 2, after I didn't want Destiny 2, but I got it anyway. And I ended up having a look through it, and I was thinking, wow, this game looks great. But again, if you go up really close to things, you'll see how they're made. Especially if you know how these things are made to begin with.
Substance textures. You can smell them a mile away.
Yeah, it is. I mean, not really that much in Destiny 2, but definitely in Fallout 4. I think we already had this conversation where Fallout 4 just looked like it was built with substance.
Like it's built from the Morrowind engine.
Yeah, but Morrowind was built with
engine.
substance. Gamebryo.
Oni64, you're late. You are 29 minutes late.
Playing,
30 minutes late.
Witcher 3 recently, and it looks gorgeous in some places, but up close it just looks like art.
I think that's what you're going to get, though, and I think rather than contesting that as a game designer, you should embrace that, because it means that the average person isn't going to notice this. The average person isn't going to notice that this texture has a direct seam in it, and you know, most people aren't going to notice these things
unless it's just in your face.
Unless it's like on a first-person gun, which is why, Austin, you really need to get on that texture.
And it all comes back around.
Austin's been here, but he's not even doing anything.
This whole entire time, Austin's been talking, but I haven't been looking.
No, he's like muted.
Well, yeah, he's been muted, but he's been typing.
Oh. Writing a
Mike's
novel.
fine.
You know, I haven't done a gun like this. It's like super like traditional,
Simple.
like boring.
Yeah. That's what stops me from doing guns, mostly boring things.
One of these days, look at the plasma auto rifle from Future Perfect done. That one's gotta be perfect. So I'm kind of straying away from it right now.
So, I kind of just want to ask what you're doing right now. So you're just rebuilding the exact same gun in low poly.
Yeah, I start in low poly for now. Have you
Yeah, no,
seen...
but I mean you're rebuilding the exact same gun from low poly.
Yeah, essentially.
Why don't you just quadrangulate the whole entire original mesh and then build it off of that?
I would rather not do it that way.
Why not?
Because I'm picky.
Is it because you didn't think of that until Alfred mentioned it?
I have thought about it, but I'm like, I don't want to build off the like existing mesh. I just don't. Maybe that's just part of me being stubborn, but it's also me being like, well, we can't use the original assets, so at least that's what I was told. So I treated it in a way where I'm like, under no circumstance can we actually use that original mesh.
We can't use the original assets, but we could basically trace them. Is that your...
Yeah. Yeah, essentially.
That makes no sense!
Sorry.
Just say it's my stubborn pride. It's my pride as a 3D artist. You may not wound my pride.
Polyglot Alfred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Respect.
I mean, I understand the idea behind that, but I think one of my concerns with you modeling, I guess, is that sometimes you spend so much time modeling, you're not spending enough time improving your skills.
That's fair.
And that you are still handing off work to Austin.
Oh yeah, entirely. Because I'm focusing on animation right now, but we had this
Animation.
debacle where it's just like, oh well, we need a full auto gun, and the Soviet rifle's just like, or the S-47 is a mess. So I said, all right, I'm pretty much off work tomorrow. Let me just bust this out.
Yeah, but the thing is about copyright infringement, Jupiter Moose, is that tracing is still infringing upon that copyright. So, you can't, like, trace a page from a comic book and sell that without infringing copyright. So it's still, you still have the same issue. And if you do build on top of the mesh, you have to rebuild the mesh anyway. So it's practically going to be a completely different model by the end. So it doesn't make a difference. I think that what Igus is saying is that it's a matter of honor,
The thing is, I've been doing this for the last like 12 guns or 15 guns that I've like worked on, so I've just kind of gotten into this groove. This is how I do it. And yeah.
How long does it take you?
Somewhere between like 8 to 15 hours, maybe. I don't know. I lose track.
Okay.
Just wondering why this isn't.
I actually found a way. Well, I started kind of building guns for my game, because even though my game's TPS, I wanted to try and get something that looked quite good for enemy guns, and I was designing some weapons, basing them on photos. And one of the things I realized, and I've done this about a million times, and it's a common thing to use photos, but something I realized that I actually never really tried to do before was to just build the entire mesh out of primitives, and then combine those primitives together into a kind of a dynamesh, and then retopologize using quad draw equivalent, rather than going through and just downing the polycount. And what I found is that this is a lot easier because you don't need to think about, the exact technical specifications, and you won't end up with a mesh which is, despite retopology, still like 20,000 triangles. And you can do it in a day.
We had to do in an intro to 3D modeling. We had to do like a scene that was made of just like pretty much what you just said. Like, don't do any like subcomponent editing or like whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, man, I just kind of realized that it's actually quite easy. I mean, obviously do some, but you don't need to do a lot. You can do what you did earlier, where you just threw a cylinder in there and then make it look better later on when you do the high quality. Some people like to work different ways, but I think that the reason why I'm even mentioning this stuff is due to the fact that you're working on hundreds of guns in such a short amount of time. And
we don't have a deadline, right?
You do have a deadline.
What, is Crytek gonna shut us down?
No, you have a deadline. You literally said earlier on today in this very
that was for like
stream,
5
you talked
working
about a deadline.
Like a holistic deadline.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm just saying there are plenty of ways of doing these things, and some of those ways could potentially have it so you don't need to pass things on to Austin.
I've taken a break from modeling, but then we had this interesting thing happen, so now I'm doing it again.
You said,
Oh,
yeah, you
interesting.
said you were doing animation. How's the animation front looking on this project?
I need to do more work on it. I kind of, over the past 3 weeks, I've kind of taken a step back from Rewind stuff to work on my own, just like random animation projects that I've just given myself. So I like the idea of like cinematic animation, but we don't have anything that needs to be done for Rewind that's cinematic related. I mean, there's the opening cutscene, but I mean that's our Reaper Splitter rig still has a small issue with it.
Yeah, I don't think cinematic cutscenes for Rewind are something which are going to be even like vaguely touched upon within the next year.
Oh, of course.
So it's probably best to think about everything else.
I'm running slow on mine. Rigging the same weapon because Austin keeps changing it.
What did Austin do now?
No, it was before. We settled on there was like some small changes that were made to the shape of the mesh that needed me to re-rig it. And then Josh saying it's the wrong weapon.
Oh, right.
And throwing shade.
The wrong weapon.
Yeah, you gave me update then.
It's just because there's no like direct comparison to the two weapons. Most of them are made up based on existing weapon designs, but aren't real weapon designs. Mostly because they have to be symmetrical. Except for the 12 gauge, of course, that's not symmetrical.
I'm waiting for the 12 gauge after all this stuff is done. I've got that and the sniper on my to-do list. Because Josh is getting antsy.
Yeah, well, don't have to have any of these issues. Don't have to have Rewind issues if you're not working on Rewind. No, I'm hilarious, aren't I? But you know, it is a shame what happened before with the whole potential rebrand idea, because there were people in the community who were on board with it as well. And now, of course, Sean's gone off and done his own thing anyway. Josh, is it really necessary to be in the stream chat to have this conversation?
His girlfriend's probably asleep. I don't know.
He doesn't need to come into the. He doesn't need to come into the call. He just needs to come into here and then I don't know, talk where Austin's talking. You don't see Austin talking in the stream chat.
They can't see it, but they can feel it.
They can feel him. They can feel his presence within the air. Saves me swapping to Discord. Right, do you only have one monitor?
The only thing I really want cleared up is if we're using the full body rig for the animations. The first person stuff.
Gosh, it's been too long on this piece right here. Need to move on.
I'll probably need to go into a call with Josh at some point about that.
Yeah, yell at him. Tell him, stop telling me what to do.
Yeah, Josh does have a desk. I forgot about that. Did you like sit on your bed and just like, gosh, that's so posture there is awful. Yo, I talked to Orange Snow last night. Or I guess his name's Craig. I saw he was online, and I was like, hey man, we haven't talked in a few months. Saw you online. Wanted to like let you know where the team's at, and I told him that we could definitely use his help for like like environment stuff, and so he said he would like reach out to Ant. I mean, Ant's pretty much soloing the map that he's working on right now.
He's done some good work doing the block out.
Yeah.
I saw the video he posted. I'm being summoned, so I will have to catch you all later.
Alrighty.
Well, good luck in the other world then.
I hope so. I'm burning to death.
Hey, you know what? It's funny you spoke about Destiny 2 like a moment ago. What bothers there's this one bit in the European Dead Zone where like there's this like stack of like wooden planks, and it's just reused to hell. It's all over the place.
Oh, that's par for the course. I mean, look, I didn't get far in Destiny 2. I can't even remember what the hell it was called. The first area after you get back your light.
Yeah,
like, you go there, there's the sniper in the tower. That's it.
That's the European Dead Zone. It's like there's like a church and
yeah. And the guy keeps talking about tea because obviously the writers are American.
Yeah.
So I kind of I had a lot of fun playing there, but I found it to me that's where the game sort of shone through, because I didn't notice too much repetition because I didn't go anywhere. I just stayed at the church and waited for the constant wave of enemies to respawn over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of the way, that kind of feels like the way the game was meant to be played.
And there's that one spot where like every 20 minutes, like just the Cabal and the Fallen just go at it near the cliff ledge.
Oh god, yeah, it really took me a while to really be able to tell what the enemies even were. Because I think this is actually an issue with the design of the game in general, is that you don't get a good chance to see. Everybody's just color-coded. Now, that's not a bad thing. I mean, you know, Bungie color-coded their enemies quite well in Halo, but it was a bit like, these all look like human enemies with different colors on them until you got close and think, oh, wait a minute, this one's an alien. Except for who are the big guys from the guys who are like mutons from XCOM.
The Cabal, they have like shields and stuff.
Is that them? The big guys from the opening of the game?
Yes.
The Cabal. Okay. Oh, that's an inspired name, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, think of like Mortal Kombat when I first heard it. Cabal.
I think my whole entire issue about Destiny 2 was when I only played it for about a couple of hours. Actually, no. Yeah, a few hours. And I was playing it, and I was really kind of unsure of what the game was, because I didn't know much about this. I didn't play the first one. It never really interested me, because it was just like Borderlands, but without the character. And then I played Destiny 2, and I jumped in, not really expecting much.
Yeah.
And you know what? I got what I was expecting. Not much. The whole entire opening chapter is cliched and kind of typically written, and then it jumps into the part where the city's fallen and you're wandering through the mountainside, and you have that amazing score playing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking, oh my god, this is actually really good. This game's actually kind of surprised me. This is really nice.
Yeah.
And I was playing it through, and it was kind of poetic almost. And it kept that right up until you got your light. And then you get your light, you get transported back to the camp, and then there are all these players running around, and it's like that sense of isolation and that incredible move they had made just vanished. I thought, oh, okay then. I guess this is the game.
I wasn't too happy how fast you got, like it was all at once too. It's like, okay, now I got my melee abilities and grenades and supers, but like I would imagine they would have taken you through like 6 missions where like, because I mean without all your powers, it's like every scenario you're really, you know, like just like approaching it in a very tactile, careful, way, but they just gave it to you all at once, and like the first like 3 hours of that game are awesome, and then it didn't go completely south, but all of a sudden it was just like, okay, now it's kind of just like Destiny 1 again. It's like Destiny 1 again, yeah.
It to me, somebody who's not a huge fan of shooters, it was very much like during after the prologue and you kind of start walking through the mountains, and I was just thinking, that's the kind of game I'd love to see, like quite a very interesting, introspective first-person game with these elements which make you feel like you're fighting for your life, rather than you're just some overpowered person who can kill everything. Yeah. Like during those moments early on in the game, you feel vulnerable, and that's great. I like that feeling. It's something which is, putting yourself in the shoes of someone who isn't you, and it's interesting to kind of have that sensation as a gamer. And as soon as all that were left, as soon as all of that just fell, and you were back playing kind of a Borderlands-esque first-person shooter with these events and infinitely spawning enemies, and it stopped being good. It just became a grind, and it lost all of its ability as a way of telling a story. Especially now, I don't know if you've ever watched Ross Scott's videos, but he said this one thing when he did a review of Deus Ex, and he was talking about how games handle DLC now. And he said that the idea of DLC existing in a game kicks him out of the experience, because he thinks about how he would have had to pay money to get that extra bit of experience from the game. And I completely think that's true of single-player titles which have quite a strong narrative. But, even while I was trying to get into Destiny 2, and I was trying to get into Destiny 2, and I had completed everything in the European section, and then I went to Orbit, and I just saw these 2 other places you can go to, and I clicked on them, and then it's like, click here to buy the season pass. And I just thought, really? Yeah. Is that I'm not even that far into the game, and I'm already at this point. And it felt like the game was an MMO at that point, and it didn't feel like it was even trying to be a game with any kind of integrity anymore. In fact, it lost all integrity by that point. And, it's a shame, because obviously Bungie have the ability, even if it doesn't have the same manpower, not same manpower, but the same people on board as they did Halo, they have the ability of creating quite a compelling narrative experience, as you could tell from that whole entire opening section of Destiny 2, but they just don't want to do it in favor of corporate interest, and that just is upsetting, because it's like seeing all that potential just fall apart into what is basically just another one of those shooters, another one of those games.
I can tell you, because I was there back in September. They have roughly about 70 people left that worked on Halo 2. That are like still there.
Really?
Yeah, it's a sizable chunk. They just I follow one guy who just left after 18 years, which kind of stinks. But I follow him on Twitter. He was the lead UI guy for pretty much like almost every game that he like worked on there. I think he was a tester for Halo 1, and then they moved him into lead, like user interface. That's all he did until like now, basically. Made me sad. 18 years at Bungie. time for the next thing. I guess.
The whole entire situation is kind of, I think Destiny 2 kind of perfectly represents the situation with most games today, and the tone of everything is, it has a lot of potential, it has a lot of money behind it, and it has a lot of potential, but that potential is never really pushed far enough to get to where they could be. And yeah, it's one of those things that just kind of made me a bit like, you know, I kind of got a bit excited about it. It's been a while since I played a shooter. I think the last shooter I played, which really kind of got me going in its narrative, was Doom. Funnily enough, back in 2016, that was the most narrative of a first-person shooter I could get into, and that was basically none. So, but you know, and I was thinking it would be nice if there was a game which could explore narrative structures more. As a first-person shooter, there are plenty of narratively driven games which are great, and you know, they exist in third-person genres mostly. First-person shooters kind of died in that regard. There aren't that many of them. Most of the time, if they try and tell a story, they always take control away from the player in the worst ways possible. And some of the ones which were quite popular quite recently, I don't know how recent some of these are, but I had played Alien Isolation, and I have a lot of issues with Alien Isolation, and it kind of stems from I guess the trends of other first-person shooters. Like, that game could have really worked if they hadn't made you fight human enemies and thus suck out all of the horror and, you know, narrative plausibility. Oh, we've got to fight these guys. Why? Because they're survivors. Why have we got to fight the survivors? Because they're trying to survive. And there's nothing really more to it other than that. And it's just this kind of this clusterfuck of mixed intentions and of what the developer wants to do. And while, you know, it's great that game did well, it just kind of overall feeds into the problem with most AAA single-player first-person shooters, in that most of the time they keep falling back on the fact that they're first-person shooters and think they have to somehow make up for that by throwing in loads of enemies, or, you know, giving you some gameplay loop. I hate the term gameplay loop. It doesn't really... Like, if I think of some of my favourite games from my childhood, they didn't really have loops. I guess Time Splitters did. But if I think about a lot of other PS2 titles, or going back further to Nintendo 64, there weren't many games with gameplay loops. I mean, they had very basic small ones. You go and collect the coin, you're done. But they always threw something in other levels to break it up and to make it different. But a lot of the time now, it seems that a lot of games stick to that one style of play, that one gameplay decision, and are very scared of deviating from it. I mean, I guess a good example of that would be Time Splitters, because, well, Time Splitters has a gameplay loop that has all of these different ways of playing the game, and these different levels with different sections, and it breaks it apart. And, you know, I'm not a huge Halo person, but I know for a fact that even Halo breaks up the gameplay with different sections.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Fear isn't scary to me. Fear is a good game, but in Fear you play as like the kung fu master. You know, it's not you're not really playing it thinking, oh, this is genuinely scary. I mean, yeah, I jumped out of my seat a couple of times playing Fear because it had jump scares. But that's kind of where it stayed. It stayed in the realm of jump scares. Alma never scared me. Alma was like, it was a tragic character who you feel for and think, that's sad that this has happened to you, but you don't scare me. It depends on what age you play it. I played it when I was a lot younger than I am now. Yeah, let's just say that. And it didn't scare me as much as it made me jump out of my seat. Because keeping horror, kind of like keeping something scary, means keeping something unseen. And if you're thinking about, you know, juggling first-person combat while karate chopping people in the back of the neck in slow motion, and then suddenly you have little girl ghost appear, I have conflicting feelings personally. I think to myself, well, yeah, any other situation that might have creeped me out. But I just got done literally jump kicking someone in the face as they tried throwing a grenade at me and end up blowing up their teammates. It's hard to recover from that. Now that's what makes Fear a fun game, but Fear's a fun game, not a scary game.
Oh, I got a message from Jose.
Oh, what did you say?
He says, hi, Aegis.
Secret? Oh, you're in for shit now. Oh goddamn, I did it again. That's the second swear, but don't worry, that word's fine for PG. But we have about 3 of those.
It's alright.
Yeah.
My rule of thumb with the content I create that I've done since like day one has always been, would I be comfortable with my parents and relatives and like, you know, grandma like watching this, you know, kind of thing.
Wait a second. Just a second. Josh, how old are you?
Like 22 or something.
No, but how old? Because Josh says he was 4 or 5 when he played Fear, but Fear came out in 2005.
What a liar.
Yeah, Josh, you would have been older than that when you played Fear, unless you're a time traveler.
That's the real reason he works on Time Splitters.
Why? Because, Josh, have you been in the future? Did Time Splitters Rewind do well? I did the math. It came out in 2001. Yeah, well done. Fear came out before Future Perfect and 2 Time Splitters. You're a programmer, Josh. Math is your strong suit. Should be.
I think that's just like a... I don't know.
There is truth to what he says, though. I think I played Fear in an age where I wasn't that scared of things, but I remember Time Splitters, Mansion, and Mansion of Madness.
Ooh.
Freakiest levels I'd ever played in a
That
video
was scary.
game. Yeah.
That room with the dead guy and like the bathtub of blood. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that was I'm never going in that room ever again thing. And I don't think I actually have. I think subconsciously I've avoided that room on every playthrough of Future Perfect.
Well, it's kind of off to the side, if I remember. You didn't have to go that hallway.
I think Mansion was scarier because while Mansion of Madness had thematically some scary things, Mansion in Time Splitters 1 was the scarier level because zombies would just jump out with a shotgun, shoot you 4 times with a double barrel, and kill you instantly. And seriously, they had rapid fire on those shotguns. Completely unfair. I can still beat Mansion very quickly now, though, if I'm using a PS2 controller. But, you know, it took a while for me to even want to do that level. Like, I completed it on easy and skipped, and moved on to the rest. And even Village didn't scare me that much. The Village had zombies.
Village wasn't, nah. It was a spooky. It wasn't scary. It was like a spooky vibe.
I really liked Village, but
I like the layout. I thought it was neat. I made it in Halo. It's like, this is cool. Then I made a game type where you couldn't jump. Oh, that was great. My friends were like, this is stupid. I'm like, no, it's not. Shut up.
Yeah. That said, the idea of something like Forge just sounds very interesting to me. I remember giving Halo a lot of crap back in the day for having a map maker system, and
so
for people, people constantly bitching about Time Splitters who were in the Halo community for some reason.
Really?
I remember. Yeah, there were a lot of issues going around, and thus I just made it so that I just thought to myself, well, I guess I don't like Halo then. But the truth of the matter is, I'd never played Halo, so I couldn't really form a good opinion on it. But I was never that interested in Space Marines versus anything else. But of course,
if anything, Halo 1 is the one game you should play. Like, of the whole series, if you're gonna play one, just play that one.
Not Combat Evolved.
Yeah.
I think that's on PC as well, isn't it?
Yeah, if you can find a copy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, I think I've still never played Halo, but I've played the opening level of Combat Evolved. I think it was Combat Evolved. And I actually had a lot of fun playing it. I thought it was very well done. No, part of it was because I played it in an age where I really loved the low resolution graphics, and it just for me, low resolution graphics are great because it just makes everything easier to see. Because people can't jam pack an environment filled with junk. In which case, what you see is what you get. And so playing a first-person shooter from then was like, oh yeah, that's great, because I can see what's going on. But you know, I'd always had that idea of not liking Halo because of other Halo fans.
Gosh,
and I think that philosophy stuck with me for quite a while.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I've still never played Halo, but I don't feel bad about Halo now. But I feel quite good about Halo, knowing the kind of its legacy and being more involved in finding out the history behind the project. Because obviously, you know, Halo was a juggernaut, but it wasn't always a juggernaut. You know, it was once a passion project done by a small group of people, and I think that kind of shows. And I'll always have respect for something, even if something is utter crap. I'll have respect for something that has soul in it. You know,
work.
Yeah. But no, I never knew about that. So I never knew about the fact that people made their own game modes. And that, after I found out about that, I thought, oh, that's actually really interesting. I didn't know you could. They didn't know they exposed that many variables so you could change them, which is really cool. And I kind of wish there were more games like that allowed you to do that. And I know that there are games which do that in a small way. I was happy when Overwatch introduced it, and I played custom matches in that for a bit. But they don't let you change enough in Overwatch. You need to be able to change more. You know, I remember back, one of my favorite things about playing multiplayer games on the PC, or Source games on the PC, was that you could change gravity. And so people were always changing the way their servers played. And I remember playing Day of Defeat with no gravity. And so people were like proned in midair with machine guns. Which was the best thing ever.
Oh gosh.
And I love that about PC games, because PC games always came with a console, and on a lot of games you could change the variables in the game so that you could mess around with things, give everybody all the weapons, or you know, actually change the way the level was laid out by spawning props in. And you know, in a way, when Gary's mod came out and it was near dedicated to doing that, I wasn't as interested, but I was always interested when you could do it in Counter-Strike, in Day of Defeat, in Deathmatch, and all those other games.
Remember Halo 3, you could then change the gravity and stuff like that. And now it's just like all over you can do all kinds of things now with Halo 5 and all that.
Yeah.
They added these slide objects in the Forge for Halo 5, where you can angle them in any which way that you want, and if the player just touches it, they're just automatically attached to it and they slide along it, and you can just make these curvy paths and make a zip line, or have a wall like a wall running section where there's no floor and you just glide along the wall.
Oh God, that reminds me of Did you play PC games when the Half-Life kind of Source game period?
Not necessarily. The most PC game I did was
they had this. There was this famous thing which I'm not quite sure what started. I don't know if it started in Quake or what, but there was basically these surf maps. Have you ever played a surf map for a
Oh gosh,
PC game?
at some point.
They were mental. They were amazing. I could never do it. I could never surf. And it was always a point of frustration for me, but the fact that these existed were one of the reasons why I love PC gaming so much. And you know, I kind of just sort of people making these surf maps is mental. And then of course you had Jailbreak, and you had all these people making these game modes, not without actually creating programming for the game modes. They were making game modes just through the level editor.
Yeah, that's cool.
And 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 I think that's great, and I think promoting that kind of thing is great, and I'm glad to hear that Halo still does that, because that's kind of the only real equivalent for console gamers.
Yeah, Far Cry Arcade
Something
thing came
like
out,
that.
and that looks really awesome, but like it doesn't seem to be as open for sharing and playing content like on like a custom level. I've heard it's not quite as like open, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot you can as soon as you introduce something creative like that into a community, it becomes a community. It becomes something larger than that. It becomes people creating things and sharing things, and that's one of the beauties of adding those elements in. I mean, I know that there was a map maker community for the Time Splitters series. I know that there was one.
Somewhere.
I wasn't a part of it because I didn't have the internet back then, but I know that there were people making maps, sharing maps by sharing their layouts, their blueprints, basically.
Yeah, you have to like make it yourself, basically.
Yeah, I remember sort of in the PS2 magazines, you'd sometimes get the demo disc, which you had to load on files from the demo disc onto the memory card. So you had to load on maps from the demo disc onto the memory card so that you can then use that memory card with Time Splitters in order to load the maps on. Halo had the ability to use Xbox's Online, which I think Xbox's Online was a bit more advanced than the PlayStation 2's Online. So
From what I've heard.
From what I've heard, yeah. Again, not an online person. I never really played the Xbox console, but it's the communities being developed around these creative sections is bound to create more of a lifetime for a game. Definitely, I can imagine people, playing Halo for a lot longer because they could do the amount of stuff that they could. I mean, I don't think Halo would have never been a juggernaut if they didn't add Forge and all those other things, but I can imagine it not being anywhere near as popular.
Oh yeah.
In terms of it being constantly played online. Like, there's only so much playtime you can get out of intricately designed levels.
Mm-hmm.
That's great, but if you allow people to start messing around and making their own stuff, then the possibilities do become endless. And it's a shame that a lot of developers don't look into doing that. I mean, I know why. It's pretty obvious why. It's because they don't want games to have a long lifespan. But, or should I say, publishers don't want games to have a long lifespan because then they can't make a sequel that will get bought up immediately. But as somebody who was always part of a modding community in many years ago, it is just nice to see that kind of stuff being supported. And I hope with Rewind this stuff can be supported as well, outside of just giving people sandbox and saying learn CryEngine and do it. I hope that there is actually a solution in engine. Like, even if Josh can't do it now, that somebody else can come and do it. That somebody else can come and make something which is easy to understand. Something a bit like the snap map for Doom, but better.
There were Time Splitters fans were all over that when it came out. They're like, dude, look, it's just like Time Splitters. Look at the snap map, dude.
Yeah.
Like, could you place AI in that?
You could place AI, but the thing is about Snap Map is that it was like the Time Splitters map maker in all the wrong ways, because it took everything that was bad about the Time Splitters map maker.
Oh no.
That is to say, you were very limited with what you could do. You were very limited with these pre-designed pieces, and you had to kind of do that. You could do some logic linking, things like that, but it felt more like the Time Splitters 1 map maker with placeable AI, rather than Time Splitters Feature Perfect's map maker, which was like the apex of the map maker in that series. Still wanted ally NPCs. I still wanted you to be able to place like friendly NPCs in the Time Splitters maps.
That would have been neat.
That would have been really nice, because then you wouldn't have to try and literally lock an AI in a room without a weapon and say, "This is your friend."
Gosh. Truth.
You say that about everything, Josh. Oh, Wilson's not in here anymore, never mind.
Nope, he left.
I see. I was gonna say he posted that screenshot, but there's some aliasing issues going on with his gun. I don't know if that's just his monitor. I don't know if he's on like a baby monitor.
That's nice little CRT.
Yeah, just. Actually, no, he's using an actual baby monitor. You know, the one which is just audio only to make these textures. That's why he's having difficulty. It's more just the baking. The baking's just really off. Anyway, I probably will log off myself in a second.
Alright.
I think I've kind of exhausted most of my dialogue.
Yo, did you ever where do you stand on that Mauser like pistol that you apparently still have?
This question again?
Yeah, because I feel like I never get a clear answer.
I've always said you can use it. I've said that about every time you've asked.
Okay, so then we'll just need you to give us the file then, I guess.
Yeah, I'll get around to that.
Okay. So like next time I ask, alright, cool.
Yeah, probably, and then I'll say I'll get around to that event as well.
Oh my gosh. Truth.
Okay, anyway, good luck with the gun. I'm probably going to log off now, and I'll probably talk to you again in the next like next month or something.
All right, buddy. Always a pleasure. Take it easy.
Okay. See ya.
It's in the asset repo, is it? I don't believe you. Good to know. What else to work on? I actually need to stand up for a moment and stretch. Oof. I'm gonna be able to get this block out done in the next 40 minutes. Probably start hiding everything that I've created. Oops. We're gonna take the headset off, guys, and just turn the music up and listen and try and work and get this done faster. So I'll just talk in the chat from here on out.
树，烟浓。夏日长，楼台倒影，入池塘。微风起，冷画屏。忽流萤，满架蔷薇。
baby gotta split, baby time to split, 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 baby gotta baby time to split, 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 baby time to split.